Good evening, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talks College Sports Huddle. Got to make sure I get the name right. Basketball, football, baseball, whatever you want to talk about, we're here to talk about the world of college sports. And it's great to have everybody with us. We hope everybody's having a great night and had a great day. Things are starting to turn weather-wise here in the Northeast. We hope they are for you. We got a lot to talk about here today. We'll talk about a little bit about the Final Four and, of course, the final game between Michigan and UConn. Michigan had one of the great runs, I think, in recent tournament history anyway. UConn a couple of years ago, their second in a row was a great run where they were really never challenged. Michigan got challenged a little bit in this last game, which we'll talk about. And we'll talk about what happens next for these teams as well. We got news with Michael Malone. Surprise, surprise. I had seen Sunday morning that Tyler Hansborough had said, watch out for a sleeper pick, and he talked about Michael Malone, and I kind of just brushed it aside. I mentioned it Monday morning on the Jack and Keith Weekend Update, just as a passing thought, thinking it would never happen. And lo and behold, he was named the head coach Monday afternoon. So good for him. And Caleb Wilson may stay. We'll see how that works out. Kudos to the UCLA women. South Carolina upsets UConn in the semifinal. We'll talk a little bit about Gino's antics. But UCLA, who did not look good in their victory over Texas in the other semifinal, just took South Carolina to the woodshed. So congratulations to them on their first NCAA championship on the women's side. Great job. We'll get into a little bit of college football today, too. Chandler Morris, the court says he can't have his seventh year. 6 ought to be enough, Chandler. The Bama AD says the SEC championship game may have run its course. We'll look a little bit at some of the transfers. Portal people, we'll look at quarterbacks mostly today. A handful of them following their coaches and a few other top acquisitions. But it's your show as well, so whatever you want to talk about, feel free to throw out there. And we'll get into it quickly by starting with the college basketball. It took me 3 picks to get this right. I didn't give Michigan enough credit. I'll be the first to say it, doing me a culpa right now. I did not give this team enough credit for the way they played through this tournament, the way they played leading up to the tournament. I had them getting beat by Gonzaga in the Elite Eight. I finally came around when we got to the Final Four. They were the 4th team I picked to win the tournament. I picked Gonzaga, then I picked Duke. I guess it was the 3rd team I picked. Then we got to Michigan. I did think we'd see a Michigan-Illinois final. UConn just did a great job against everybody that they played. They had some nail biters, which kind of helped them, I think, in that semifinal game against Illinois. And I thought would help them in the final against Michigan. If you told me before the game Monday night that it would be played in the 60s, the score would be in the 60s, that UConn would have 22 offensive rebounds against those giants on the Michigan front line, I would have said UConn won the game. That UConn, even though they're a 2 seed, kind of shocked the world because they were undermanned here, undersized. Even with Lundeborg hampered, he played a lot. He played 36 minutes, was not effective. He scored 13 points, 4 for 13 from the field, and he even admitted he was not healthy. He only got a couple of rebounds, couldn't really get off the floor. But UConn was game. They fought hard. The game was played like UConn wanted it to be played, which is why I say if you told me the score would be in the 60s and they'd have 22 offensive rebounds and 24 defensive rebounds, they would significantly out-rebound Michigan, I would have said UConn won this game. It was ugly. I mean, they shot 31% and Michigan shot 38%. But Michigan beat them at their own game. They pretty much held Mara in check, who just went off against Arizona after Lindeborg got hurt. But they couldn't really control Cadeau. Cadeau had a really great run through this whole tournament. He was named the outstanding player of the tournament. I think for good reason. He scored, he dished, he set up all these big men inside. I think he really took over the main man role. The main man role when Lindeborg got hurt. And I got to give kudos to Dusty May and this Michigan team. And their first national championship since 1989. If you remember that year, that was an unexpected run. This one wasn't necessarily. But in 1989, they had a run through the tournament after Bill Frieder had taken a job at Arizona State and said he'd coach out the season. And the AD said, Bo Schembelker said, no, we don't want that. Goodbye. Steve Fisher will coach us. And Steve Fisher, the interim coach, just runs the table. This is their first victory since then. They didn't win with the Fab Five. They got into some Final Fours and finals, but never could get over the top. People are going to talk about, and look, I am not happy about where we are with transfer portal and unlimited, mobility, if you will, in the world of college sports. And I hope some of it changes, but don't forget, people want to harp on the fact that they bought a championship. I'm not going to just make it that easy. It's not that black and white, guys. Morrow was a guy who was used sparingly, played 13 minutes a game, I think, at UCLA, I want to say. Cadeau at Carolina was a turnover machine when he played. These guys became stars under Dusty May. Let's give Dusty May and his system and his coaching ability a little bit of credit here. And not just focus on the fact that, 5 transfers won here. This is the state of college sports. You might as well get used to it. I'm trying to. So I look for other reasons. It isn't just these guys weren't just superstars that they brought in. He thought they'd fit his system, and he was right, and he coached them up. So let's get off that whole, Michigan bought a national championship. You still got to go out and win. Plenty of schools have spent lots of money and don't win. Illinois spent a lot of money. They did get to the Final Four, but they ultimately didn't even get to the final, much less win. So let's give you have to, if you're going to spend money, this is no different than professional sports now. Probably never was. It's just all above board now, right? You got to give these guys credit. When they bring in guys who are marginal players, Danny's here. Hello, Danny and Rick, by the way. Just say hellos here. Danny saw Mara play. Was Mara a great player at UCLA? Hello, Paul. Good to have you with us. Driving, be careful. Hello, Rick. And Danny's with us. I don't think they bought a national championship. Do we think they do? I mean, do we really think that? Was Mara set in the world? Were Mara and Cadeau superstars elsewhere? I mean, I guess technically you can say they did. It's just the way of the world now. How many guys have, 5 guys starting that they drafted? Unless, Dabo Sweeney's college coach somewhere that I don't know about. I'm not saying I like it. Don't like it. I mean, how good, again, Danny, how good was Mara out at UCLA? I mean, didn't he play like 13 minutes a game? I mean, again, that could be your boy Cronin not recognizing talent. But I can tell you, Cadeau was not a good player. He had talent. He didn't maximize it. All I'm saying is give Dusty May some credit. And he won't be moving on because that job that he said he wasn't interested in, hired somebody else. And again, Danny, I don't know if you were here when I said congratulations to your UCLA women, their first national championship on the women's side. Great job. Listen, I was rooting for you just because I want to see your Bruins win their first national championship. I like the coach, or ties to Coach Wooden, and the story there. But I didn't think they could beat South Carolina. I thought South Carolina and UConn were the best two teams in this tournament, and that South Carolina would roll. I was hoping UCLA could stay in the game. They are a great team, but they lose one game this year. Anyway, kudos to UCLA. Danny completely agrees with me. Something that doesn't happen all the time recently, which is fine. I mean, if we agreed, we all ought to agree a little bit more on things in the real world, but in sports and in these shows, it's better if we disagree on some stuff. Just the way of the world now, we won't even know who will be number 5. We don't know who the number 5 will be each college for basketball every year. I know what you're saying. UCLA women are going to go through the same thing. They're going to go out and take players from other schools. That's what's going to happen. I mean, again, Michigan they're the betting favorite for next year is already Michigan and Duke. And it's amazing to me, right? Because, it's futures betting without having any information to bet on other than these guys have a track record. Michigan won the national championship this year. Duke's always seems to be in play. That's all you're betting on, because you have no idea who's going to be playing on these teams next year. Michigan could very well have and some of them could be back. I mean, they're not all eligibility out. That's not even a word. But, I almost feel like, was there 2 kids from UCLA on Michigan? I do want to talk to, again, UCLA, and the women are going to go through it for sure. Yeah, I know you're big talking. I figured that. Not even looking every year, we know. I get what you're saying. Again, I hate that, right? I think everybody probably hates that. It's the same way in football. It's even harder because there's more players. We're going to talk about some of those transfers quarterback-wise here before we leave the show tonight. But it is the way of the world. And I've tried to get myself adjusted to it. Maybe something changes in that regard. I think it's funny, too. We talk about guys fighting for eligibility. I mean, again, Chandler Morris lost a battle to get another year of eligibility, while Trinidad Chambliss gained a 6th year. These guys are fighting to stay where they were fighting to leave before. So and maybe now that, again, Trump's presidential commission on sports, college sports, that convened here a couple of weeks ago, that made a bunch of recommendations, and he signed an executive order that will. I don't even know how that's I don't know who's going to police this and who's going to mandate it. Or, I don't know how it's got to get ratified, for instance. It's executive order. Theoretically, it should happen. And he wants it to start happening in May. We'll see. 5 years to play 4. Same rule we used to have for redshirting and whatnot. 5 years to play 4. Then it became 6 years to play 4. Then COVID came in and messed all that up. And now we've got guys fighting to stay for 7 and 8 years. We'll see if that happens. And also 1 transfer without penalty, which I like. Give a kid a chance to move on. I get it. You still give him the option to move. If the coach leaves, he can move. You can move and sit out a year and lose a year's eligibility. Or maybe you don't lose the eligibility. I don't know whether this order is going to have any teeth or not. We'll find out. I mean, but until something changes, this is where we live. And the NIL money will get bigger and bigger. We'll see. Very interesting. And we'll be pivoting into football here more. Are you and Paul together? No bickering. Keep your eye on the road. Where's my banner for this show anyway? Never put my banner up. Oh God. And I got to talk too about Gino Auriemma. I have to, and we talked about it Sunday, but for those who weren't with us Sunday morning, after the final, the semifinal with UConn and South Carolina, where Gino was upset about not getting his hand shook before or soon enough, I guess, before the game by Dawn Staley, and certainly was upset about the refereeing. He goes over and pretty much gives, before the game is over, he goes over to theoretically shake Dawn Stanley's hand after the game and proceeds to lecture her and chew her out, which set her off. And I think it was just inappropriate by Gino. Listen, I've had a lot of respect for Gino as a coach, maybe not the way he carries himself all the time. But I lost a lot of respect for him there, and I lost more respect on Sunday when he issued an apology, or Saturday when he issued an apology through the athletic department, just a form letter that he signed. You got to go on camera, or you got to go to Dawn Staley, and you need to apologize to her directly. Because whatever you're mad about the referees. Well, guess what, Gino? You got that benefit many, many, many years. Many times you got that benefit. As far as the protocol before the game, there's a lot going on. And I don't think, I don't know for a fact, but I don't think Dawn Staley was trying to, upstage you before the game or disrespect you before the game. Only you can answer that, Gino, and you still haven't, because after the game you went out there and said, we expect to lose a certain win with a certain a class and lose the same way. Well, you didn't. You didn't. You had what you felt was a better team. You hadn't lost a game, and you felt you acted like a little boy who wanted to take his ball and go home. And you need to kind of make it right. Hello there, Samuel Dean. How are you, my friend, down there in Tennessee? I think you're in Tennessee. I know you're a Titans fan. Yeah, I'm sure that's punk and not pink. I guess it could have different meanings, Sam. Listen, I don't know. Look, he has a certain arrogance about him. Whether he's a punk, I don't know. He's a great coach, great recruiter. I mean, you have to give credit where credit's due. I didn't like Gino because of his arrogance, if you will. Just to use my word, Sam. You can call him a punk if you like. I'm not going to argue that point. But I can also respect him as a coach and what he's accomplished in his career at UConn. I mean, you can certainly argue. Jack was talking about this a couple of times on the morning show that, if you were to combine the men's and women's programs historically, UConn's probably the best. And the men, by the way, can probably stake a claim to being a blue blood now. I talk about blue bloods a lot. We haven't talked about it in college basketball in a little bit. We talked about it in football this past summer or fall and winter. But I don't think Connecticut gets mentioned as a blue blood in college basketball. I think they have to be. They've got 6 national championships since 1999. Carolina has 7. Kentucky has 8. And a lot of them go back further, especially for Kentucky. And then UCLA is way ahead of everybody. But UConn is definitely a blue blood on the women's side and on men's side. I'm not going to say Connecticut's the best program. Bobby Hurley's name came up for the UNC job, and Sam, you're down there closer to it. I know you're not in. Well, you are in You're in Are you in Carolina? You're Tennessee. You're in Tennessee. So anyway, you're in the vicinity. I did hear Bobby Hurley's name circulate over the weekend, and it's ridiculous. Why? I don't think it was ever a serious thought. Why would Bobby Hurley leave UConn for North Carolina? I don't think it's a better job at this point. Now we'll find out whether Michael Malone can restore some of that. Yeah, I figured that out. She was as good as Gino. Pat, this is when Gino really took off, by the way. And Gino and Pat Summitt had some great showdowns. And Pat Summitt was a great college basketball coach. It's funny. If there was and it's too bad, I think she was before her time. She was a great coach because we talked about, last year the Knicks threw out and I don't think it was ever serious, that they were considering Dawn Staley for the head coaching job. That would have been a mistake. You can't do that in New York. I have no doubt there'll be a woman head coach in the NBA. There's women assistant coaches already. Pat Summitt was before her time. I think if Pat Summitt were here now in her prime, Pat Summitt would be somebody that would be mentioned either for a major college men's program or a professional job at some point. And Dawn Staley could very well be that woman at some point. I just thought the Knicks was a really bad place to break that barrier, if you will. I know. I'm losing my mind here. Blue Bloods was a great show. It's still on in Boston now. I only follow the Indians. A different show. I was there was a time my wife and I were considering moving to the great state of Tennessee when we both retired. Our grandchildren changed that plan, but there was a chance, and I know this wouldn't have been your preference, Sam, but there was a chance I had to be your neighbor. We actually looked at some places near Nashville. And I like it because it's one of the states with no sales tax. That was a precursor, or a non-starter. If your state had state income tax, we weren't moving to you. So there was only 12 states or whatever that we considered. Some of them, Texas was out, Washington was out, Mississippi was out, but Tennessee was in, Florida was in. But then we decided no. Money. About what? Yeah, I know. You're an Indians fan? Chiming in on this college sports huddle. I didn't know you were an Indians fan. I would love it. I'd love to argue with you daily. Conflict is the best. No, I agree. Conflict is good. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes I get into, situations that I can't get myself out of or refuse because I'm too stubborn. Happened Sunday morning. Oh, money about coaching in Carolina. Listen, I don't think this is a bad hire, by the way. Michael Malone, don't call me Mike Malone, knows his stuff. He's going to be a better bench coach than Hubert Davis was. Question is going to be, they're going to get more resources, right? I mean, part of his deal was, I know he got a contract like $50 million over 9 years, I think. But they also gave him like $7 million more in NIL budget, $4 million for assistant salaries. So they're investing a big chunk of money into this program and into Michael Malone, who I think, I could be totally off base, was the second choice. I think Bill Donovan was the first choice, but Billy wouldn't leave now. They needed somebody now because the transfer portal is in full thrust, or about to be in full thrust, and you can't wait another week, 2 weeks, a month for somebody. Well, Billy would have been available as soon as the 82nd game was played, but I don't think they were willing to wait. I think Billy Donovan was probably the first choice. And Michael Malone kind of came out of nowhere, as I said earlier. But Tyler Hansbrough had his finger on the pulse of this, because he said it Sunday morning that he thought there was a dark horse that nobody was talking about, and that was Michael Malone. Turns out he was right. I kind of dismissed it. But NBA coaches, I mean, this game's becoming a professional game. You've got to manage salary caps. You've got to manage everything else. So you've got GMs, you've got all this other stuff. Indians. Ben since I was 8, Dad made us pick baseball teams, and we followed it all season. Dad picked the Braves. You all picked different teams. You wanted to have conflict. You should have just made them pick in the same divisions. That would have been interesting. It almost did. Cardinals and Cubs. It's a great game. They don't ruin it. What else would I want to talk about? So again, Michael Malone. I mean, again, I think a key is Caleb Wilson was going to definitely hit the transfer portal. Some of the talk now is that they are working feverishly, Michael Malone and his staff, such as it is at the moment, are working feverishly to try to keep him on this Carolina team. Listen, this team with Caleb Wilson was not that bad. They went 24-7 this year. The loss to VCU without Caleb Wilson would not have happened, most likely. And Hubert Davis might still be the coach. I was never a big Hubert Davis fan. I think Hubert Davis took this job out of loyalty to Roy Williams more than the fact that he wanted it. And he didn't do a horrible job. I mean, look at the guy, made a run to the Final Four in his first year from the first four. He didn't have a great year. He's had a couple of good years, but not success in a tournament, except that first year. And, you know, the leash is pretty short today. I mean, I talked about, I don't have the numbers in front of me anymore, I don't think, but, you know, I talked about great coaches that maybe never would become great coaches if they were only given, 3 years, 4 years to succeed. Mike Krzyzewski would have been fired, almost was at Duke. Dean Smith didn't win a national championship for 2 decades. Almost. Well, 2 decades, yeah. 2 decades for oh, God. Name just went right out of my head. Bill Self, almost 20 years. Villanova coach. Why is his name? Oh, God. Why is his come on, man. Anyway, well, John Wooden, right? Then he pointed out to me, I hadn't even thought about it. Nearly got fired. It was 14 years before he won at UCLA. Then he didn't stop winning. A lot of great coaches don't win right away. Oh, Paul's a nice husband today and took his wife out to dinner. That's sweet. So she's forced to listen to me on the way home. Is that the deal? Oh, Paul. So anyway, another basketball season is done. We're already talking about next season. We're already got the transfer portal underway. And it's going to be very interesting to see what next season brings. It's hard. We're not going to know any of the players, as Danny said earlier. Oh, we'll know them. They'll be in different places. Some will be in the NBA. Keon Boozer is going to be in the NBA. I don't know. This is an unexpected run for me for UConn. I thought UConn really did a great. Danny Hurley's a really good basketball coach. People don't like his antics and some of his whining and crying on the sideline, whatever. You can think whatever you want. He's a great coach. Again, another guy people aren't going to like, very polarizing. Jack thinks he would be a great NBA coach. I do not think his temperament. I don't think his temperament or approach, maybe not with players, might be fine. Danny Hurley's a guy that I guarantee the losses eat him up. That's where college coaches have problems. They're used to losing, whatever. I mean, 7 games is a lot to lose in a college season when you're having a really good season. And you're going to go somewhere where if you do really well, you're going to lose, 25 or 30 or more. I think he'd get eaten alive, pressure-wise, on himself. I don't think he'd make it. I think he's a college coach, born to be a college coach, and should just stay where he is and get a statue built for him at UConn. Because he'll win more national championships. I wouldn't punish her that much. Thank you. Well, I'm happy for her that she didn't do that. The Pac-12 was the Conference of Champions. The Big Ten, with the addition of UCLA and USC, has begun the Conference of Champions. Take that, SEC. I don't disagree. I've said for quite a while, Danny, I know you've heard me, and I mean this sincerely. The loss, to me, the greatest tragedy, and tragedy's, the worst, it's not a great word to use, I get. How about travesty? Of all of this reorder of the college football, basketball world, we got to blame football because the basketball teams are beholden to the football teams. Wherever they go, the basketball teams got to follow in most cases, especially in the big conferences. Unless you don't have one like Gonzaga. But the biggest tragedy / travesty of all of this is the demise of the Pac-12. A conference with 125 years worth of history just dismissed, right? And people want to complain about players, and people want to complain about coaches, no loyalty. How about the programs themselves? How about the presidents and ADs, presidents, I guess I got to blame, of UCLA and Oregon and USC and Washington and all the other schools who show no, total disregard for the history that their programs have and the fact that their fans now have got to travel not from, LA to Arizona to Washington. Now they got to fly to Ann Arbor, East Rutherford, New Jersey. So I don't want to hear college presidents and ADs bitching and moaning anymore about player loyalty or coaching loyalty because you show none to your fan bases, to your alumni, none. So please. I mean, that's one of the biggest travesties that's come out of all of this realignment and the, revamping of college sports. Yes, the Big 12's coming back next year. It's not even going to be a shadow of what it was. Oregon State and Washington State and a bunch of teams from Mountain West. Listen, I respect and a few others. And I mean, no disrespect to those programs, but this isn't going to be the Big 12 that, Danny knew or his father knew or his grandfather knew. And the SEC's kind of got it handed to them, right, in football and in basketball the last couple of years. But the SEC still drives the engine, Danny, right? The TV networks, whatever happens with expansion, well, maybe the Big Ten now is on an equal playing field with them as far as being able to say expansion of the playoff, for instance. The Bama AD has said this week that he thinks the SEC title game has had its time with the expansion of the playoff. It's irrelevant, and I agree. I don't think we need any of these championship games. But whatever happens with the playoff in college football, now we've kind of pivoted, or I guess it applies to college basketball as well, because we want to expand the tournaments. In football, we want to go to 14 or 16, which, whatever, 24. College basketball wants to go to 72 or 76 or 92. But none of that's going to happen without, and maybe the Big Ten's put themselves in the driver's seat more than the SEC there, Danny, but I'm not quite sure they have. Both of them are going to have to be on the same page, and they're not going to do that without some assurances that we're going to get X amount of seats in whatever tournament you're going to say. Whatever the expansion is going to look like, whether it's basketball or whether it's football. And I've already seen too many 7th place teams in leagues in basketball. I don't need to see more. Or I'm sorry, I don't need to see the 8th and 9th place teams in these power conferences play. If you're not going to get some in basketball, I'm going to say this. I'm talking about basketball now and expanding this tournament. If you're going to go to 72 or 76 or 92, you better start giving some credence to the mid-majors and teams that had great seasons but maybe didn't win their conference tournament. I don't want to see. I don't care that Auburn won the NIT. By the way, I have people telling me this week that, see, you were wrong. Auburn should have been in the NCAA tournament because they won the NIT. How does that prove anything? The NIT is such a watered down piece of crap now. And that tournament everybody loves out in Vegas because they pay $1 million to the team that wins. I'm pretty sure the teams that played each other in the championship were both 15 and 17. Who's watching? Oh, we do love Paul, yes. You're right. But Paul said he would not subject her to listening to me. So anyway, on the basketball side, that's what you're going to get. On the football side, try not to get negative tonight. On the football side, we're not going to do any expansion unless the SEC and the Big Ten get 4 automatic bids. Again, you cannot go down that slope, that slippery slope, because you're going to end up right now. I mean, this past year probably wouldn't have looked so bad. I mean, we looked at it. You might have had USC. Who would you have had in the tournament? Let me go back. College football. So if they got 4 automatic bids, and they want more, by the way. So the Big Ten would have got, and they already had Indiana, they already had Ohio State, they already had Oregon. They would have got USC or Michigan. All right, I guess. And the SEC, Ole Miss, Georgia, they already had 4. They had 5. No, Texas didn't get in. They had 4. So they're going to want more than 4? I mean, but not every year. I mean, every year isn't going to bring really strong, and those aren't really strong teams, by the way. I mean, you're going to come into a year where, somebody went, I don't know, 6-2 in conference and 9-4 overall, and they're going to be in the championship playoff? 8-5? Look at Duke. Nearly got in out of the ACC. That's not what this tournament should be. It's turning into what my good friend who we don't know where he went, John DeLon, the Mr. SEC, thought it would be. And I argued with him that it was not a participation trophy tournament. Well, it's becoming that. The Pac-12 was a conference. Oh, you already said that. Thought that was a new one. Sorry, Danny. Anyway, we got a lit in basketball now. We got a new coach in Albany here at Siena, Loudonville. Nevada Smith, former Marquette assistant coach. He coached with some NBA teams. He's coached everywhere. Might have coached in Europe a little bit. Some people that worked with him have said that the people here in Siena will love him because he plays an upbeat style, up-pace style of basketball, and that's fine. He's going to need all new players is the problem. All the 5 starters on Siena have hit the portal. One, Gavin Doughty, the best player on the Siena team, no surprise, has followed Jerry McNamara to Syracuse. He's from Fulton, New York, which is, I don't know, an hour-ish away from Syracuse University. And there was very little doubt that that's where he was going to end up. And he still could get another one of those players before all is said and done. We'll see. A great job, though. Great hire by Syracuse. What other coaches? Are there any coaching vacancies left? Alabama State hasn't hired a coach. I might be the only one. Everything's full now. No surprises. Bill Self came back. We broke that story here last week. Mississippi Valley State is open. That might be about there are a lot of teams, right? Looks like pretty much all of them have been filled. Is there anything? Oops. Yeah, Randy Bennett, we know, is in Arizona State. We'll just look at the bigger ones. Randy Bennett's had some health problems, too, since he got to Arizona State. Did a great job at St. Mary's. Boston College, Luke Murray, coming off being an assistant on a team that went to the finals 3 of the last 4 years and won twice. Gets the job at Boston College, and Bill Murray now will have a new team to root for. Jared Calhoun, who was the coach, did a great job at Utah State. We'll get the job in Cincinnati. We had a what do we call it? In Creighton, we had McDermott pass the torch to his top assistant, Alan Huss. There was a succession plan, that's the word I was looking for, in place there. I'm only looking at the big ones. Michael Malone, we know at North Carolina. North Carolina State hires Justin Gainey, former assistant, former player. Brian Hodgson from South Florida had a great season, goes to Providence. Jerry McNamara we talked about. Wasn't there an assistant on Michigan too? Justin Gainey, right? No, he was with Tennessee. I thought there was a coach on the Wolverines who was taking a head job, but maybe I'm mistaken. I could be mistaken, or I'm just missing it. So anyway, that's some of the big jobs. We got just a handful of smaller school jobs open. We thought we could have had. I mean, while North Carolina was still open, if they had hired, Dusty May, we would have had Michigan open. If Bill Self had retired, we would have had probably another big school open, maybe Illinois, and Brad Underwood's connection to Kansas would have sent him back home. So we would have had an opening at Illinois. Those things didn't come to fruition. Now, I guess there could still be an NBA team that would chase down one of these coaches, and we would have a bigger job open again. If Danny Hurley decided to take that leap now, I do not expect him to do that. I can't think of another guy really that is that big. Jay Wright's the guy I was trying to think of before that took forever to win. I just don't think there's another college coach that is going to be taking that jump here in the short term. There are some guys that probably will consider it. Dusty May's a guy that I would consider in that ilk. Todd Golden, I would consider in that ilk. Will Wade, who knows about Will Wade at LSU? So these are all guys that could go to the pros at some time. And who knows, Michael Malone might have set a new trend. Maybe we shouldn't be surprised about this because we have seen assistant coaches, Jared Calhoun for one, the coach at BYU for another. Who's BYU's head coach? Slipping my mind. Oh, that's football. Sorry. Too many schools. There are just a ton of Division I basketball schools. Oh, Kevin Young, he was an assistant in the NBA. So we've seen a trend in the last couple of years of college programs hiring NBA assistants, and we may see maybe exodus of head coaches going to college now. The money's there, obviously. $50 million. $50 million for 6 years. I think I said 9 before. $50 million for 6 years for Mr. Malone. Without a doubt, he was a surprise. I mean, I had people telling me, well, we talked about him from the beginning. I try to keep my finger on the pulse of, the coaching carousel. Between this show, information I get from you guys, things I read, and whatever. I don't remember Michael Malone's name ever coming up in the two weeks plus that this job was open. I don't remember his name ever coming up until Sunday when Tyler Hansborough mentioned it. Kudos to him. Either has inside information or he just guessed right. By the way, one more thing on college before we move on. Do I still have this open? I had the Naismith there we go. I had the Naismith Hall of Fame honors happened here this last week as well with new inductees. Candace Parker, who was a WNBA star, won the MVP, was a two-time national champion in college. Made her name at Tennessee with Pat Summitt, who we mentioned earlier. She joins Pat Summitt, who's not with us unfortunately anymore, but she joins Pat Summitt in that Hall of Fame, and well deserved too, by the way. Great player on the pro level, and to me, I'm more worried about women on the college level than the pro level, as I've never bought into the WNBA, but it is what it is. Mark Few, never gotten that national championship. He does now have 773 wins since 1999. He's been Coach of the Year. He's been to 2 Final Fours and 2 national championship games, yet to get over the hump. But he's done really, to me, what you would think is impossible and keep Gonzaga at the top of the sport for 27 years. It's remarkable. And I believe they made the NCAA tournament every single year in those 27 years, except for 2020 when there was no tournament. His winning percentage is the highest in NCAA history. Congratulations to him. Amari Stoudemire, great player, goes in with a former coach, I believe, D'Antonio. 6-time All-NBA, 5-time All-Star. Never won. He wasn't a Rookie of the Year. Never got over the top in the NBA, but he was a great player. Got hurt when he was with the Knicks pretty much, and he did make the Knicks relevant again, though. Doc Rivers, NBA coach from 99 till now. Coached with a bunch of teams, won a championship with the Celtics, as we know. Got to another final with the Celtics. He's coached, I don't know, 5-6 teams, I think. Was a great player at Marquette. Was a great player, a good player in the NBA with the Knicks and a few others. I think well-deserved for Doc Rivers. Elena Del Don, who I will say I don't know. She's the NCAA leading scorer in 2012, WNBA Rookie of the Year. Don't know that much about her, but congratulations to her as well. Joey Crawford, NBA referee, gets in. He was a referee from 1977 to 2016. Congratulations to him. The United States women's national team, 1996 version, was elected as a team. Congratulations to them. They won an Olympic gold medal and had 10 future Hall of Fame members on that team. Shamika Holdskaw, a great, again, WNBA player and a big star again at Tennessee. Congratulations to her. Mike D'Antonio, who we talked about before, coach from 1998 to 2020, 2-time Coach of the Year. Never got a team to the finals, but he's now an NBA. I might have some gripe with Mike D'Antonio. We'll see. Danny's got about 7 friends in North Carolina, and they were all shocked and knew nothing about it. You're right. Sunday was the first I'd heard about it, too. Yeah. And I mentioned it just in passing to Jack on Monday morning at the end of the show. Jack hadn't heard. Jack thought it'd be a good hire. I kind of had my questions. I really thought it was going to be Billy Donovan or Dusty May, even though Dusty May had said he removed his name from consideration, but that we've seen that before. But congratulations to Mike Malone. Mark Few never missed an NCAA tournament. What has happened? I think we talked about this, and I've told everybody, go watch. I don't remember the name of the documentary, but it's on Tubi, and it's a great documentary about the rise and almost demise, by the way, of Gonzaga as a power NCAA basketball program. Started with Dan Monson there. They were ready. This is a Jesuit school up in the furthest part of Washington, basically. And they were playing in like a 2,000-seat gym. And they were ready to drop. They weren't winning. John Stockton was their biggest star before this run started. And they were ready to drop to Division III. They had a vote from the board of directors. And they managed to avoid that. They brought Dan Monson in there, and he started this whole thing in the late 90s, getting them to an Elite Eight. I think they actually had beaten St. John's in that tournament when Mike Jarvis was there. But Dan Monson parlayed that success into a job at Minnesota, and maybe he should have stayed at Gonzaga, because Mark Few an untested assistant coach took over, and the rest is history. He's been one of the great and one of the underrated coaches of all time. Several times, I believe, he's turned down chances to go to UCLA, for instance. I don't think Doc's hurting any, and I'm. You know what? I think Doc's probably happy to get fired by the Bucks. That thing has turned into a dysfunctional mess up there. We won't get into that too much tonight here, but I do think Giannis will be back this year. I think before he leaves, his brothers are there, and I think he wants to get a chance to play with his brothers before he departs for good, because you will not see Giannis back in Milwaukee. You won't see Doc Rivers back in Milwaukee. Doc wants to coach, he'll get a job. Doc's been pretty successful wherever he's gone. He may not have won the ultimate game or the ultimate series and all those stops, but he did win in Boston. You know, he certainly had playoff teams with the Clippers, who didn't always have them. The Hawks, I think he did well. He played with the Hawks too, by the way. I don't think he coached the Hawks. Coached the Magic. Coached the Knicks. I didn't coach the Knicks, sorry. Played with the Knicks. I'm getting my playing and coaching careers mixed up with Doc. I was a fan of Doc because I was still kind of a Marquette fan when Doc was there. Again, when I was a kid, I was a Marquette fan with Al McGuire there. And I stayed a fan through a few coaches. Still would root for them when they did well or had a chance, even under Mike Dean from Siena, eventually went and coached there. Doc played for, he didn't play for Hank Raymond's. I think Doc played for Rick Majerus. I'm not positive, though, at Marquette. Hey, Smoking Jeremy, how are you, my friend? For the KCBS Sports Network. Congratulations on your championship, Jeremy. I give kudos to Michigan. Again, I don't buy into those the commentary that they bought a championship. I think Dusty May did a great job of cultivating previously untapped talent. So great job and congratulations on a great victory. Very dominant run through this tournament. Even Monday night, UConn was somehow fought their way back into this game, but Michigan beat them really at their own game. But congratulations. You think Doc Rivers is awful outside of 1 year in Boston? Really? I don't know if I'm buying that. Let's check it out. Even though this is the College Sports Huddle, we'll check out Doc Rivers' coaching career. All right. There he is as a player. Don't really care. Head coaching record. Well, he's got almost a 600 winning percentage, which isn't too bad to start with right there, Jeremy. He's won 1,978 games, which I'm going to guess is up there with some of the best. He had a tough time in Orlando, didn't do great. He turned Boston around, went from 24 wins his first year to 66 the second, and won the NBA championship. Won 60 games, 50 games. I said he had his struggles in the playoffs, but there's a lot of coaches in the Hall of Fame who struggled in the playoffs. All these years in Boston, he lost in the conference finals or conference semifinals, except for the first year and the last year. With the Clippers, he lost. By the way, the Clippers weren't even winning playoff series. He might have been the first coach to win a playoff series. I'm not sure. Danny might remember. Lost in the conference semifinals his first 2 years in LA. Nobody was winning there. Lost in the conference semifinals his last year there. He was never under 500 with the Clippers, a team that really was over 500 probably before then. And Philadelphia, lost in the semifinals, lost in the semifinals, lost in the semifinals, lost in the first round, whatever. Hasn't been a good run in Milwaukee. I I got a bigger problem with Mike D'Antonio than I have with Doc Rivers. But I'm not going to get all worked up over it. Getting there makes a difference, man. I agree. Doc Rivers way overrated. No. Well, then I got to ask about Mike D'Antonio. Do you agree that if you think Doc with nearly 2,000 career wins doesn't belong in it? By the way, a 587 winning percentage. I'm going to compare it against some other coaches too. It's my college show, but I'll do this anyway. Mike D'Antonio, 560. Much lower winning percentage and 1,100 wins. 1,200 wins. Get one win away from 1,200. Never made it to a final. So you got to tell me he doesn't belong as well. If you tell me, and again, if you say that, I'll agree with you. That's fair. There you go. All right. So I'll give you Doc Rivers as long as you're not going to tell me Mike D'Antonio belongs. And if this was a different show, I'd probably go find some, maybe I will anyway. What the hell? Let's see if I can do this real quick. I want to compare against some other guys, and you guys tell me they belong or don't. I know it's a college sports huddle, but what the hell? Hall of NBA. Let's see what we got. List of coaches. There's college coaches and how many are there before I do this? It's quite a few. I'll go through him quickly. We've got college and pro coaches. I'm going to name ones I recognize, right? Fog Allen, yes. We're going to skip a bunch of these guys from the 20s. Sorry. I just don't know who the hell they are and I don't have time to look. Red Auerbach, no argument there. Henry Iba. Henry Iba belong in the Hall of Fame? Never won a national championship. He did win a couple gold medals, but also lost or had it stolen from him. I'm going to say Henry Iba might be a little iffy. Adolph Rupp, yes, even though he's a blatant racist. We don't know him. Don't know him. John Wooden, no argument there. Frank McGuire. Frank McGuire's got to be in the Hall of Fame, right? Ray Meyer. I mean, I don't know. Ray Meyer's a guy because he lasted a long time. He went to the Final Four in his first year and his last year, if I'm not mistaken. And that's the only time. So they're on the college. A lot hard to compare them with the two guys we just talked about. Clarence Gaines, huge in the black college circuit. Dean Smith, without a doubt. Don't know these guys. Marv Harshman. Great career out there in the old Pac-12 or Pac-8 at that point, I guess, that we just talked about. Danny. Also coach. I can't see Marv Harshman. Margaret Wade, Red Holtzman, without a doubt. Fred Taylor, a great coach at Ohio State, without a doubt. Stan Watts, don't know enough about Stan Watts. Didn't win a lot of championships. Ralph Miller, another guy from the Big 12. Never won a national championship. Won conference championships with Wichita, Iowa, Oregon State. Not sure, man. Bob Knight, without a doubt. Lou Carnesecca. Carnesecca's a great example here. He compares very favorably with the Doc Rivers and the D'Antonios of the world. I say he belongs. So there is a case to be made for guys who don't win the ultimate game. And you know me, I'm an ultimate game kind of guy. Al McGuire, 100%. Jack Ramsey, 100%. Denny Crum, 100%. Chuck Daly, 100%. Pete Carroll, great coach at Princeton. Won a ton of Ivy League championships. Don Haskins. What? He's there as a coach, guys, Don Haskins, not a player. No way Don Haskins belongs in the Hall of Fame as a coach. He was a good coach. Alex Hannum. I don't know enough. He won championships in the NBA and the ABA. I'll give you a benefit of the doubt there. Lenny Wilkins. Yes. John Thompson. Yes. Pat Summitt. Yes. Morgan Wooten. DeMatha High School. Yes. John Chaney. Is it different in NCAA than it is in the NBA? Should the criteria be different? A lot of these guys, great coaches, didn't win championships. Mike Krzyzewski, no argument. Larry Brown, no argument. Lute Olson, no argument. Kay Yao. I guess. Women's coach. Bill Sharman, I guess, yes. Jim Boeheim, without a doubt. Jim Calhoun, without a doubt. Sue Guntner. Gino Auriemma, without a doubt. Whether you think he's a bully or a punk, doesn't matter. Yes. Phil Jackson, yes. I'm skipping some people. Roy Williams, yes. Pat Riley, yes. Kathy Rush, yes. Jerry Sloan. Jerry Sloan's a good comparison for the two guys we just talked about. Love to get it there. Bob Hurley. Absolutely. That's Bob Hurley Sr. Never coached in college, but he did coach in high school for decades. Don Nelson. Never won an NBA championship. She'd been as a coach, coached a long time, won a lot of games. He's another good. I think Nelson and Jerry Sloan are great examples to compare to Doc Rivers and Doc Rivers, because I'm going to agree with everybody. Guy Lewis. Well, he never won a national championship. Great teams in Houston. Coached some great players, going back to Elvin Hayes. Going back to Slamma-Jamma, Phi Slamma-Jamma, right? Rick Pitino, yes. Tarkanian, yes. Slick Leonard, Bobby Leonard. That's an interesting one. Most of his success in the ABA. I'm going to say yes to Bobby Leonard. Nolan Richardson, yes. Gary Williams, got a little problem with Gary Williams. John Calipari, yes. Boy, funny I could have a problem with Gary Williams, but not John Calipari. Got me rethinking that. Tom Heinsohn, yes. Tom Izzo, yes. John McClendon, yes. Another great coach at the historically black schools. Muffet McGraw, great women's coach, yes. Bill Self, yes. Lefty Drizel. Not sure. Bill Fitch won NBA championship with the Celtics. Very similar to Doc Williams. Who's Doc Williams? Doc Rivers. Kim Malarkey. Yes. Eddie Sutton. Interesting one. 3 Final Fours, 3 different teams. Never won. Rudy Tomjanovich, yes. Rick Adelman. Another great comparison to Doc Rivers. Cotton Fitzsimmons. Really? Bill Russell, no argument. Well, I got a lot more. No, I don't. Jay Wright, definitely. Teresa Grentz, yes. Bob Huggins? George Carl? No. Gene Keady? Again, great coach. College, you be a great coach. You don't win national championship, you can still make it. Popovich, without a doubt. Bo Ryan. Bo Ryan's a tough one, too. Billy Donovan, yes. Mark Few, yes. Doc Rivers, we just talked about. So I'll take your guys' comments on this topic, which I think we have a few. Yeah, here we go. Stan Van Gundy doesn't deserve it either. He's not in. Stan Van Gundy's not in. He's not in the Hall of Fame. I say no to Iba, right? Not in the Hall of Fame, but I think he probably should be. Rick Majerus. Some of these names that I mentioned, the Gene Keadys of the world, even Louis Carnesecca, and maybe he just hasn't. This time hasn't come. And I think you're talking about Rick Majerus, Carlos. There you go, Richard Raymond Majerus, right in front of me. Not in. Should be in. Yes, on Lute Olson, and he only won one national championship. Agreed. No on... I'm not sure who that is. Oh, Sloan, Jerry Sloan. That's fair. You're being consistent. Tara Vanderveer, not yet. Who? Dave Luce, 5-time OVC champ, coach of the year. Are we talking about Austin P? Carlos? I'm a no on Bob Huggins, too. So you have to guess on your NFL show at 9:30 came to show you love. You have to get okay. Get there. Thank you, Jeremy, for popping in, buddy. I know I wasn't able to make it to your show the last time you asked me, and I do apologize for that. So anyway, I went a little further with that than I really planned on. Because some of the stuff that I've got for college football will keep. I mean, the biggest stories in college football right now are really Chandler Morris getting turned down for a 7th year of eligibility. The BAM AD I talked about, he says the SEC championship is dead. I was going to get into the portal a little bit with the best teams or the teams that have done the best or made the best move. We'll do that maybe next week. We'll do a few more weeks before we talk about a hiatus. We do have a few quarterbacks that are following their coaches, by the way, though. Messmacher goes from North Texas to Oklahoma State, along with his coach, Chad Morris. Byron Brown goes to Auburn with his coach, Alex Gragan. You know what I'm talking about. And Rocco Becht goes to Penn State with Matt Campbell. Pretty interesting stuff, I thought. Do my baseball show 9 p.m. Saturdays. Oh, man, so late. I'm an old man. Well, yeah, I thought it was at APSU. Shout out, Scarlo. Sounds pretty funny, though. We'll make it work, though, one Saturday, Jeremy. Now that summer's here, you really want to get me on a Saturday about 9 o'clock after I've spent all day outside watching baseball or something. And I'm not partaking of adult beverages nearly the way I have been as I've been trying to lose weight. We're still down. I'm kind of stuck on a weight thing. I'm down 32 pounds, but I've been down 32 pounds for about a month now. That's bouncing. I've gotten to as many. I don't want to tell you what the actual weight is because then you'll know what the hell I weigh. Jesus Christ. But I've been kind of getting to 35, and then I go back to where I was only down 28, 29, 30, back to, I'm going back and forth this last month. And now I haven't had that big relapse, so that's a good thing. So anyway, we do a lot of walking now. Easier to walk, get outside and walk. It's boring as hell inside. Get on the row machine a little bit. I want to be doing this when I'm 95. I want to be here when I'm really a crotchety old man. Imagine me. I'm going to be 66 here soon, ish. And imagine how crotchety I'll be when I'm 95. It'll be me and Jack. I'll be 95. He'll be 115. Did I miss any other news I want to talk about? It's sad news too, by the way. I don't want to get into that because I'll mention it. A very sad story out of Colorado where Dominic Ponder was driving under the influence and sadly lost his life. Some of these guys, I mean, again, I think they just I think there's a sense of invincibility with some of these kids, and they have to. Some of them have a tragic accident and survive it, and it turns them around, and some don't survive it to get that chance. So, our thoughts and prayers go out to his family as well. A quick shout out too, by the way, speaking of college football, Victor Glover, who is on the Artemis 2 mission on their way back to Earth, ready to splash down on Friday. Tremendous. I'm a space geek, by the way, guys. You don't know that about me. When I was a kid, I was all over Apollo. My dad worked for the local newspaper. He was the foreman in the press room. And at that time, they would get all these pictures. I mean, tens of thousands of pictures from like AP, UPI, and whatever. I must have had, I don't know, 1,000 photos from the Apollo missions from the news services. Don't have many more. I wish I did. Just tremendous still photos that I really wish I had today. But I was just a space geek throughout the Apollos when I was I was 9 years old when we landed on the moon, and obviously those missions went through my early teens, mid-teens, and then followed the space shuttle missions. And I was always never understood how we never went back to the moon for 50 years. This has been exciting. The shots coming back from the far side of the moon and the Earth in the background. Man, if that doesn't give you a sense of we are just a dot in space. And we're just a dot on that dot. It's really moving for me. And we're going back. We're going to land in 2028. So getting ready. Anyway, Victor Glover was a college football player and wrestler at Cal Poly. That's what I was trying to get at. So kudos to him and a job well done. 420 wins at ASPU in Missouri and Tennessee Coaching Hall of Fame. I don't think that's going to make the Naismith Hall of Fame, though. Great job by your coach. Although some of these names I passed over, Carlos, he might very well still fit. I don't know what the criteria is for some of these guys to get in. I mean, and I don't mean any disrespect to the Henry Ibas of the world, or the Norm Sloans of the world, or some of the other college coaches to kind of keep it on a college level. Where'd that list go? Oh, it was over here. I mean, who are some of these other Lefty Driesell? Great coach. I don't know if he belongs in the Hall of Fame. Barely ever won the ACC at Georgia. I mean, great coach. He's a great coach at Davidson. He did get 4 different schools to the NCAA tournament, I believe. May not ever got Maryland there because the rules changed. I think he did. But some of these guys, even Calipari and Gary Williams. Gary Williams, they both won national championships. Nolan Richardson, yes. Nolan Richardson was a trailblazer. Great coach. I really like, if you guys are still here, give me an opinion on these two guys. Gary Williams, John Calipari, Guy Lewis, and Tarkanian. Let's throw them in there. So 4 guys in the last 5 minutes or so we have here. Guy Lewis, thumbs up or down? Guy Lewis, Guy Lewis, Jerry Tarkanian, Gary Williams, and Calipari. Man, I can say no on Guy Lewis. Queens guy coaching at UNC, crazy. Yeah, came out of nowhere. Nobody expected it. We've talked about it a few times tonight. Carlos, I never saw his name mentioned anywhere before Sunday when Tyler Hansborough had said he knew of a sleeper candidate that nobody would ever think of, and it was Michael Malone. I think he was an assistant with the coach or with the Knicks. I don't know why I think that. Was he one of Van Gundy's assistants with I want to get thumbs up on some of those guys I just threw out there, though, before you guys head off for the night. See where he's coached, where he's been an assistant coach. I seem to remember him. I don't know why. Oakland Providence, Manhattan. Oh, yeah, Knicks assistant for 4 years under, I want to say, I think Van Gundy. Guy Lewis over 500 wins. I mean, that's half where the top guys are, though. And again, I'm not taking anything away from Guy Lewis. Gary Williams is a really good coach at Boston College, a really great coach at Maryland, and won a national championship. Guy Lewis never won a national championship, and 500 wins is barely half of what the top guys in the business have. I don't know. I really don't mean disrespect to these guys either. I really don't. Yeah, Knicks for 4 years. Thumbs up to all of them. It is tough. It's tough to judge these guys, right? I hate to judge them, but just whether they won national championships. It's hard to do. Especially when you're coaching in an era. Guy Lewis, most of his career, he coached in the UCLA John Wooden era. Gary Williams was coaching in the ACC and the Big East at the height of their greatness. There was no more intense coach on the bench than Gary Williams, man. That poor guy would come out of there drenched through his suit. Really good coach. I don't mean any disrespect. I don't know if I'm putting John Calipari in there either. No, it's true. And I probably need to look further at some of these guys that I've kind of questioned. All of these guys that I've questioned pretty much, except Lefty. But Lefty Drizel in there. No, I mean, he wasn't winning a lot of conference championships. Some of the guys, Guy Lewis won a lot of conference championships, obviously. But again, he was playing in the old Southwest Conference, which wasn't a basketball hotbed at the time. I mean, Houston was about all there was coming out of there. I mean, they were going to NCAA tournaments every year because that conference was not a basketball conference at that time anyway. And really probably never was until most of those schools went to the Big 12 or elsewhere. Florida this year. This coming year, you're picking Florida? Jerry Tarkanian was great, a great coach. I would give Tark the thumbs up just for outrunning the NCAA for as long as he did. Had great teams at Long Beach State before he ever got to UNLV. People don't even remember that. You know, but again, back in those days, you were playing, you know, they'd be fighting for an at-large bid, or they'd end up playing somebody like UCLA in the first round, and out they go. But he turned Long Beach State into a really good school, coached some good players there. Chewing on a towel. Remember, he had a towel guy. He had to get the towel just right. I guess we're not going to get any more. Who's laughing it up here? Always like to know who's laughing. Carlos laughing. No. Florida was ousted and had a great team. Oh, I see. Oh, as an example. Yes. I thought, again, going into the tournament, I thought Florida had one of the best teams in the country. I had them in the Final Four, I believe. Nah, I might have them losing. I might have had them losing. I have to look at. By the way, before we go, I didn't give kudos to our winners, and I should do that real quickly in our last couple minutes here. So hold on. In the tournament, only one person I want to say. Oh shoot! Previous games. NCAA tournament, men's side, our winner was a Mad New Yorker, the only guy to pick Michigan to win this thing. So sorry, Carlos, I didn't give you your kudos. Congratulations. You actually run away with it, win by 370 points with the winner on Monday night. Great job. And yours truly finished dead last. So tells you everything you need to know about my season. And on the women's side, did Carlos have a sweep? Where's my women's bracket here? Engle Bush, even though it's South Carolina Gamecocks, Lady Cocks, it sounds weird, were beaten in the final. Nobody had the winner. Most of the people had UConn, and one person had Michigan. But Neil squeaks out a 30-point win over a generic ESPN fan. So great job. Congratulations to Carlos, and congratulations to Neil. Great job. We're looking to take up a collection for your Costco card. I'm retired, man. I'm on a fixed income. I can't take 6 cruises a year if I'm going to send out Costco cards right and left. You should have filled it out. You might have been a double winner, which we had 2 years ago. Rick Sherlock won both the men's and the women's side. We got to do better next year, getting the word out so we have more participants. Anyway, that's on me, I guess. But I can use your guys' help. Anyway, we'll wrap it up. I appreciate everybody for contributing again tonight. As always, you guys make this show go and all my shows go, and I appreciate that. is Engle TGI Sports Talk. We'll see you, College Sports Huddle. See you guys on Friday morning with Jack on the weekend playbook. Bye-bye.